Hey, this is Robert. Thank you for tuning into the, I guess, technically Solomon Shrine, but also kind of Station Square, because I have another first time somebody that we kind of been talking for a little bit, but I think today we just finally made the time to, let it all happen and we got it to work. And I know that we've just been hyping up Solomon Shrine of just dressing up as characters. I don't have my jacket on because it's just way too hot. But I guess Justine is repping Adrienne. I've been having so many Adrienne reps. Probably should do like a Haley one. I think the only one was Trina, if I'm not mistaken. But no, it's really fun, and I'm just really enjoying doing these interviews. So yeah, Justine, thank you so much for coming to this afternoon's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. I'm glad that we were finally able to connect after uh, everything going on in life.
Oh my God. Yeah, like you say that now and it's like, oh man, as of the time of this recording, there's like many different events that are going on that we're not going to get into, but I'm just happy that we're still here and we
Yeah.
finally made it work. So, yeah. But regardless, thank you so much for stopping by and yeah, I just wanted to ask you how is 2025 going, and yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and yeah, just go from there. Just icebreaker. Introduce yourself.
Okay.
Take it away.
All right. Well, I'll start by saying ciao. I say that because I lived in Italy for 9 years and just came back not quite a year ago. It hasn't been, it's been about 10 months that I've been back in the States in California. I got my master's out in Italy and was teaching, and that's where I started my voiceover journey. And since being back in the States, it's been a big change in getting a new space set up and getting used to um, time changes and classes, but it's allowed me to take so many wonderful classes now that I'm back in the same time zone as a lot of studios in California. And 2025 has been going pretty well. Still more than halfway to go, but I'm quite pleased with how it's turning out.
Yeah, anytime. And yeah, it's kind of about the same with me, where it's like a roller coaster where it feels like it's like a consistent up and down in a way where it's like, you're
Yeah.
doing a lot of this stuff and then next thing you know, you get hit with life emergencies, family stuff, deaths, just yeah, it's been a pretty crazy time. But then of course, it's not just with me. I mean, like I think it's the same for everyone where it's like well, sometimes you can have stuff that is going well, but then just splat, just fall on your face, but then we get back up, which is what's happening right now. So yeah, I'm just glad that we're starting to, retaliate. Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but
Yeah.
we're just fighting for what we believe in, like knowing your worth and your rights. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm just glad there's a lot of that stuff going on, and we're not, we're just not going to take no for an answer, and we're not going to fall into despair, no matter how easy it is to do so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to situations like what's happening right now around the world. But
Right.
like I said, not really the podcast for that stuff. We just want to talk about what we just wanted to discuss, like what you guys kind of watch this for. You just want us to just awkwardly ramble for like an hour, like less than that, however much time we have here today. So yeah, I guess to start this out, you mentioned how your 2025 is going pretty good.
hmm
What is something that you say were some of your proudest like achievements for this year in particular?
Oh, great question. Um, well, early on in the year, I did my first solo audiobook, which was a big deal, a really exciting thing for me. I've always loved reading, and the idea of audiobooks has, um, I just love it. And finally being back, well, being in the States allows me to do that, whereas where I was before, uh, it kind of limited my platforms that I could work with. So that was a really big thing for me. And then I just recently completed a commercial demo with Scary Good Studios, Melissa and Randy, the best. They are so fantastic to work with. And I loved every minute of the process with them, and I'm so pleased with how that demo came out.
I love Melissa and Randy. They're
Yes.
just, yeah. I could just sing their praises all day, but
Yes. We
if
should
you're
just turn it
watching
into a
this,
Melissa and Randy pot, like
yeah.
singing their
So this
praises
is why Melissa
podcast.
is so great. Okay, first off, she is well, they do a lot of they're really obsessed with horror. Randy is kind of like that audio engineer that just makes one touch and it just turns gold and oh my gosh, just they're just so amazing and blah 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 blah. That would just be an hour episode in and of itself.
Yes. Yeah, and they're just such lovely humans as well, so easy to work with, so much joy, especially I think, when you're working on something as big and as like nerve-wracking as a demo can be, it's so nice to work on it with people that you just vibe with and you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, it's just like, when you really find those producers or just somebody that you kind of click with, it just creates an even better product if you ask me.
Yes,
If you ask me,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to know because now that we're kind of into the getting to know you section, so I also know, so apparently I did my research and you had your fair share of stage and theater and all that good jazz. So what was something that kind of set off just the I want to do this. Yeah, let's do acting. Tell us
Yeah,
your little backstory.
gosh. Um, I ever since I was a kid, um I loved the idea of it. I loved doing school plays. Um, I think what really got me going was when I play with my Barbies or my dolls, like each one had a different accent, and I would, watch things on television and pick up the accents that I was hearing. So I had like my British Barbie and my French Barbie, and that was kind of like a start to it. And then um, yeah, just having theater in school and having the opportunity to participate in it, whether it's like a class or something after school, I think just that having that access to it really allowed me to get outside of my shell and be a little nerdy and be okay with it. And I just fell in love with it and kept going.
Yeah, it definitely reminds all of us of getting to perform up on the stage when you're a kid and just the excitement and the adrenaline you get every time. And especially if you're somebody who is kind of sort of shy and introverted like I was, you know what? I think I kind of like this because I always loved watching so much different stuff. And I'm just like, maybe acting is something that I could probably sink my teeth into.
Yeah. When did you start your acting journey?
Yeah, I did a couple of improv and just singing on ensemble stuff in elementary, but I didn't really do any what you consider to be like, theater, like high school, middle school, any of that stuff. So I know I did some stage stuff, but I don't know to this day because like I know I did like maybe one or two shows, but I wasn't really like a full-on theater kid, so to speak.
Yeah.
And years later, I discovered voice acting was something that you could actually make a living off because I did imitations. I did so many different, like every other kid would do. So we just impersonate characters and then get paid doing it eventually, which is, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so years later, I just discovered Voice Acting Club, Alliance, all these different websites. Definitely want to give my shout out and all my love to Kira Buckland for pretty much leading
Yes.
a new generation of VO
Absolutely. Yeah.
artists out there. So, yeah, for all of you 2000s Audi, like Gen X or Y. I don't know. The millennial folks like I was. Yeah, remember the Newground stuff? You remember all those MySpace and all those voice acting alliance message boards that yeah, boy, I'm just calling out a specific group of people here, but I don't care. So yeah, that's pretty much where I got my start. And then from there on, it just led to me wanting to start creating stuff like Solomon, for instance,
Hmm.
and write and do a bunch of this other stuff that I've been doing since I was a kid. But now I'm actually kind of sort of am making a name for it, and I'm just really happy that it's got the traction that it's getting so far with a website though. And you're probably going to see some more stuff, content that's going to be pertaining to it in the foreseeable future. So keep a lookout for it. And always remember to play for your life.
Yes.
Never gonna stop saying that. So yeah, and then after all that, what was something that? How did you actually discover voice act? Because I don't think it's something that not even I knew about.
Yeah. Uh, what's funny is I never, I loved performing on stage and like being a theater kid, and I never really thought about voice acting when I was on my trajectory of doing theater in high school and even in college. Um, and I heard about like a friend of mine when I was living in San Diego. She took like a voice acting class, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. But I don't know. It just like, it didn't click in my brain that that was like something that I, as a theater person, could do. I don't know why. Like, it just didn't connect. And it wasn't until I was finishing up my master's program when I was talking with my mentor, um, who was also my uh, voice teacher in the program, and we were just talking about the program and the culmination of it, and he was talking about voice and voice work in particular, and he brought it up as like, have you thought about doing this because you have a way with words. And I thought, oh, I didn't. I've never thought about it actually. And then a few years after that, my music teacher from my master's program kind of put the idea into my head. And I just, started off like most people with a cheap USB mic from Amazon, and built a makeshift thing in my apartment. And then the more you know, the more you start to expand and you like figure out uh, how to make things work.
I just remembered this one specific microphone that a lot started out with way back in the day. Have you? Are you familiar with the gooseneck microphones?
No.
Yeah. So okay, the gooseneck mics, they were kind of like the it's gonna sound really terrible if I say this. They were like, look, if you want to start voice acting, like this is during the time of like, okay, just get any mic, any microphone. It doesn't matter how cheap it is. Just if you can make it work, it works. Nowadays, our standards have kind of raised a stake because it's not like, we could just record from our bedroom or in a bathroom. Like what? I mean, look, everybody starts somewhere, and trust me, a lot of us had really interesting setups. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes. But I agree with you. I mean, the industry has come so far, and I think because of what happened with COVID and it pushing things remote, that standard for like your remote setup has really, I mean, it's increased because, the remote setup like didn't really exist before so much in terms of like actually recording your professional stuff if you weren't going into studio. But that being said, everyone does start from somewhere. And if you want to start, like, just get a microphone, any microphone, and just start and do it. And then when you're ready or when you have the funds, you can start to build. But I think that's an important thing, if you want to start, just do it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have the expensive equipment to start. Better if you don't, because you won't know what to do with it. I wouldn't have known what to do with it, if I had it when I started.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much just the case where, look, just start with anything, and it doesn't matter if it's not the the best sounding. Like any bit of just the more that you do it, it's kind of like when you're doing stage, where it's like the more that you familiarize yourself with it, that you start getting a little bit more, have a little bit of familiarity to it. I mean, it's not going to be like an overnight thing, but you can kind of start getting better by the day, like at
Yeah.
least a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you're going to start any new hobby or anything, even if you want to turn it into a profession, like music instruments, you're not going to go out and buy the best guitar or the best flute or, right away because you first need to make sure that you're going to like it enough to want to continue. But then also you got to learn and better to learn on something that is just going to get you through that learning phase than to drop a bunch of money on an expensive piece of equipment and not use it to its full potential.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much my thoughts entirely. So I'm just kind of glad that we're starting out with like mic etiquette.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting you started to VO. What year did you start precisely?
I started in 2022. So I'm about like in August will be like 3 full years. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and you started when you were still in Italy, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So for about a year and a half out there, I was under covers. It turned my, Narnia wardrobe into a recording space.
My goodness. Well, if you have to make it work, it has to work somehow.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that it worked out for you, but hey, at least you're over here in the States, like California.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of great stuff over there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Voice SF is over there. And there's some other studios that are in the SF,
Yes. Oh,
San
yeah.
Fran area.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I like doing research when it comes to the who's who of the business,
Yes.
which is
Very
important though.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yes,
super
absolutely.
helpful. Yeah. And for you, I wanted to ask you, how long would you say that you sort of kind of found your, I guess, groove when it comes
Mm,
to VOing? Yeah.
that's a great question. Um, in I feel like probably after the first few months, I started to get a better understanding of what is expected of like the profession and what is expected of you as a voice actor. Started to get a better idea of like how and where to find projects. Um, but I would say even like maybe a year ago, year and a half ago is when I really started to like feel like I knew how to navigate for myself, the classes I wanted to take, where to be investing my time and money into things, the projects that I wanted to go out for or not. And every year I'm getting more and more specific with those things, which I feel like is like the results are coming back. Like what I'm putting into my craft is coming back to me in terms of um, projects or opportunities or people or different classes and things like that. So I don't know if I have it that I didn't answer your question very well because I didn't give a specific point.
Honestly, no. I forgot I was muted. I think that it's a pretty solid answer, all things considered, because we're all still trying to figure it out. We're just trying to figure stuff out every single day.
Yes,
We never
yeah.
stop learning.
Yes, absolutely. That is like one of my mottos, like never stop learning. Because there's always more that you could learn.
Yep. every single time, every single day. So I kind of am also curious as to what have been some of the, I guess, productions or projects which I think we kind of were in a couple together, but we'll kind of bring those up as well if you want to.
Hmm.
But what would you say were some of the ones that really mean so much to you, and you just have such a great sense of just not admiration, but you just kind of connect to on a personal and a deep level? Ones
Yeah.
that really resonate to you.
Yeah. Um, so this is kind of a collection of pieces and roles, but like I have found that I've been really fortunate in the voiceover side to have a lot more Japanese and Japanese American characters. Where when I think back to my theater career and like the roles that I've done, I don't think I've ever played a character who is specifically Japanese or Japanese American. I've played one, two characters that I can think of off the top of my head who are Asian characters, East Asian. Um, and any time that I get the opportunity to narrate a story or be a character who is of Japanese heritage or is specifically written to be Japanese or Japanese American and get to portray those characters or tell those stories, it's those like mean so much to me on a personal level because I've not ever been afforded the opportunity creatively in the past to tell those stories. And I didn't get to see those stories being told very much before. So that's definitely one kind of it's not one specific role, but it's a collection of many that I've been fortunate enough to do.
Yeah, and who would you say was very instrumental in your voiceover journey? It could be anybody in your life, actors, or just any piece of media that you also want to you want to talk about that were
Yeah.
much of a major
Um,
influence.
gosh, that's a hard one because I feel like every day I'm reminded of things and influences that like again I didn't make those connections with before of like oh that was an influence or that was an influence. Um I would say one or two in particular my voice and music professors in my master's program definitely big influences because even though we didn't do voiceover in the master's, the tools that they gave me as an artist for how to use my voice and body to manipulate sounds and to change my voice, it just makes like tapping into new characters and like changing the placement of something in my mouth or in my body to get a different sound like those. Um, in terms of specific media, um, I mean, I was a Disney princess girly as a kid. I loved all of the Disney princesses and the songs. And so, without even knowing it, I know that those voices and those like songs were definitely big inspirations for me. Um, and then I do have to say my family has been a huge support. They have like really jumped like behind me in terms of like supporting me 100% in this, which is hard as a creative. You want to balance that idea of like, oh, you want to please your family with a career and if you've gone to school, the creative careers are not the easiest to find stability in. And I've learned to embrace the instability, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense to me, and that's why it's super important that having a strong support, whether it's your family, friends, whoever, just having a lot of people on your side, it's gonna come a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now it is time for us to talk a little bit about Solomon. Now, I know we're kind of in the early stages, but yeah, I'm just really happy with just how many people that are involved, sorry, that are on board with this, and yeah, I just trip up every time I get really eager about something. So yeah, I say that it's a really great just collaboration with just whether it's Kayla Temchev or Michaela Laws or just any of my voice acting pals or artists that have helped out with this. I'm just really happy that we're just able to have a lot of creative freedom and just so many, just a lot of very bold, writing choices that we've committed to. And trust me, when you watch the series, you'll probably figure out what's going to be coming up in story. But since this, we just put out a teaser where you had the sisters and everything, I really think that it just sets the tone for what's to come, in the foreseeable future. And yeah, I'm just really excited to really get this off the ground.
I have a question for you. Is that okay? Yeah,
Yes,
about it.
please.
I'm sure you have talked about this in other podcasts. So if you have, and to listeners or viewers, I apologize if it's like repetitive information. But what sparked the passion inside you for this project and taking it and turning it into reality?
Great question. So I did talk about this a little bit in other episodes, but what really, I guess, and I also talked about this in previous episodes, but pretty much how it just all came to be with Solomon was just a trip out in the camp, big surprise, with my youth group, and yeah, just seeing these buildings that are just old and abandoned, and then we were just kind of curious. I think I was sort of like the one that was just like, oh, what's inside? So I went out by myself, just sneaking down there all alone with no supervision, because I was that type of kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then luckily though, nothing happened, but then I started thinking, what would happen if somebody were to stumble onto this or stream something and then they end up getting taken away by this giant rabbit monster?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then my brain just started thinking of many different ideas, and I came up with the roughs of 8, 10 episodes for like an entire season. Like this is around a few years ago,
hmm
and this pretty much all started around the right when we're on the cusp of COVID, if you can believe it. So, because of
Okay.
course, what else were you gonna do at that time?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what else were you gonna do except, I don't know, go to a store and buy supplies, I guess, or just get toilet paper. I don't know, but
Yeah, if you could.
if we could, yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much how it came to be. Then I hired Michaela. I mean, I did hire her for the casting, but Kayla kind of stepped in and they were pretty much a huge help of just writing the stories, coming up with concepts where, in their own words, make it even worse than the stuff that I would be pitching. And then sometimes I would just pitch something and we just figure out how is it going to relate to the story? How are the characters going to learn from this traumatic event? And then both of our brains just kind of clicked. And it's kind of the same as when I had Michaela on, where, she helped out with the casting. And when we decided on who's going to be who, like the main four, we were just like, okay, we're pretty much in, like, we're on the same page, which, I mean, sometimes more often than not, it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe this one actor where it's like, no, like we both agree that it's these guys. So that's why we got
Oh,
Sean,
amazing.
Belle, Trina, Diana, and all of the additional voices that we have. Even more that I haven't even included in the video. But trust me, I know that you'll probably hear Justine in some of the episodes, and you might hear some other, actors that are going to be along for the scary ride. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But
Do you have a favorite character?
I mean, it's either between William and Haley. I know a couple because for us, whenever we do the dress up, I mean, like I said, I don't have my jacket because
It's
California is
hot.
brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I did for a couple of the previous episodes, and I was able to do just fine. But I think it depends on the time of day that it is too. That it's just really crazy, stupid, crazy hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm just. Look, I got LA comic, which I don't know. Well, I guess it's kind of like my way of just saying, hey, if you want to do comic, do this year. But anyways, so yeah, I'm glad that a lot of the people that have joined so far, they seem to really enjoy the idea of like, hey, why don't we just dress up or just cosplay as our characters? That way it could be really fun and we can talk about the project and just show our love and rep, you know, our guy, our, you know, all of us, all the
Yeah,
homies
absolutely.
and our new friends, you know? I mean, Adrienne, once again, was kind of like one of the go-to. I mean, she's kind of like always starting to become like a sort of fan favorite, so don't got that. But William and Haley are kind of like my two. And I also love Marshall and, Adrienne. Writing for all of them has been a lot of fun, especially writing it with Kayla, so it just makes it a great deal of fun in general.
That's what's important. You have to always have fun.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually have a rather important question for you because I've asked somebody else this, but with your background and ethnicity, how well would you say that it really plays into how you approach acting and into your personal life, or just bringing some of those life experiences into your work?
Yeah. Um, I think it's always special when you have the opportunity to bring part of your personal life into the work that you do. Um, y- there are definitely schools of thought with acting of like taking your personal experience and drawing on that and, you know, thinking of happy times or less happy times and using that to fuel your emotions to get into a character. Um, but I find that, sometimes it's like in the littlest things that you don't expect when you're really in a character that you find that connection with them, that those are like more special than like when you are like trying really hard to bring yourself into it. Um, but I do always appreciate when uh, there are those authentic moments where you do get to bring in personal life or like cultural aspects. There was a short story that I narrated about a Japanese American um, granddaughter and her relationship with her Japanese grandmother. And my grandmother was from Japan, spoke Japanese. I did not. Um, and telling it was a horror story, so it's not like my relationship with my grandmother was not a horror story.
So I guess horror seems to be something that is in your niche.
Yes, yeah, I did write my master's thesis on horror. But that story, even though I wasn't telling the story about me and my grandmother in terms of a horror story, but it was so that story was so special to me because it was like I was getting to share a part of me and the relationship that I did have with my grandmother with the world through the words of this story and this character.
It's whenever we bring our own unique voices in just a story like you just shared, it just becomes a lot more. The audience just really connects when somebody is just being real and
Yeah.
vulnerable. And that's something that I really appreciate. Like a lot of the best stories that I've seen are just people that are just putting themselves and letting themselves be vulnerable and just putting themselves out there, which is terrifying, but it can be worth it.
Yes, it's one of the really beautiful things about acting in any art form, whether it's voice acting or stage or screen, improv, that vulnerability and the willingness to be vulnerable. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. But I also wanted to know from you if you were to tell younger Justine
Mm,
about, finding their own voice per se, what do you want to say to them?
yeah, I would tell her, well, first I would tell her about voice acting sooner and just be like, this is it. Like, this is what. But to be fair, I don't think that I'd be where I am as a voice actor had I not gone through everything I did, in acting and my physical theater background. Um, but I would, just whisper that in her ear, be like, it's a thing. you can do it. Um, but also like, that you are you and no one else is you. And that is special. And that's not something I feel like so much we find, especially when I was growing up, I feel like, individualism was not seen as much of a good thing. It was like you wanted to fit in. Whereas now I feel like celebrating the individual and individuality is so much more present. Um, that I would want to tell younger Justine, like, it's okay to be you and who you are. And at some point, at one point, you will learn to love who that person is and not be afraid to share that and show it.
Absolutely. Such beautiful advice. There's so much I would say to my younger self.
Yeah.
A lot of it not so kindly, but I have some
You
pretty choice words. But yeah, something along the lines of what you said would be a nice, good start. And also, what would I say to them? Just don't be afraid of just like we were just kind of mentioning before. Don't be afraid to be you. And
Yeah.
no one can tell this story but yourself. And don't try to be like this one other person because I know imposter syndrome can be a nightmare. My gosh, yeah. I really think that just being authentically us just really makes a huge difference to all of us, whether you're talking to a friend or a coworker, or just meeting everybody out, or even just if something that has also been helping you, like figuring out or just learning and doing a lot of fun activities and hobbies, and it can really help a lot. Like I know that today is nice and beautiful out there, so if you want to go out for a walk, take a walk, or if you want to do sports or play basketball, just taking experiences from life is a really great it's a great way to learn and really apply it into your work.
Yes.
And or if you're a spiritual like non-denominational Christians, reading the Bible is always really great. And it's also just well, whether you celebrate like any religion or anything else like out there, like this is something that personally helps me. I know it's not really for anybody, but I just wanted to share right now that I want to be where I am without, my Lord and Savior, and just really getting through each day one step at a time,
Yeah.
especially during, you know, the dark times and or just any time that we're going through just some serious stuff in our lives. Like, I just always feel comfort and peace knowing that, I have someone who is never going to leave me nor forsake me, and just having a family that is just, always there for each other and friends and, you know, and of course, I just want to mention all my cast and crew once again, and just everybody. Yeah. So that's pretty much what my little TED Talk speech has amounted to. Um,
Love it.
yeah, yeah, we all love it around here. We'll conclude in the next part, so stick around, and we'll wrap it all up in the finale. So if you're enjoying this so far, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all shortly. The finale. Alrighty, see you in a bit. Bye. All right, so we're about to wrap this up here. I just want to thank you so much, Justine, for your time and sharing so much wisdom. I
Oh,
think that's kind
thanks.
of what it is. Like we were just talking bikes and then talking about your background, so it's just a pretty insightful episode in and of itself.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really so happy that we were finally able to connect again because the last time was when I was in Italy, and that was a while ago.
And we were in different time zones too,
Yes,
which is
very
always a
different.
pain. Yeah. So at least we're kind of in the same, Pacific,
Yes.
same time zone. So yeah, everything just works out for the better.
Yes, much easier.
Yeah, way, way easier. So, yeah, I think to close this out, if you want to talk about or share any of your upcoming stuff or just, I don't know,
Mm.
share socials and yeah, just do the self promo thing and let's get that
Oh, okay.
going. And yeah, let's do it.
Yes. Well, there are two projects that I'm really excited about that are coming out. I don't know when. Well, one is a second audiobook that that I'm working on, and it's a really lovely, like middle school aged kind of coming of age story of magical realism. And I got to research all of these different birds and bird sounds and try to figure out how to turn birds into human voices, and it was so much fun. So that's a really it's called Cascadia's Call. I'm guessing it'll be out in the next few months. And then there's a podcast that I'm a part of, an audio drama called Deadwood. A really beautiful group of people that are putting it together, this kind of analog horror series. And I just recorded the first parts of my character, who is a siren, and she's so fun and complex and just tragic but beautiful. So when that comes out, please be on the lookout for it. It's an incredible story made by amazing people. And then in terms of socials, you can pretty much find me anywhere at Justine Leah VA. So Justin with an E, and then Leah Leah VA. You can, yeah, if you search that on Twitter, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, even, LinkedIn. I'm there.
Yeah, and what would be your final piece of advice or closing thoughts? Just anything that you want to share support to those that are being affected, or just anybody just going through just hard times, really. Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
specifically, yeah, what's
I
going
s-
on now.
I think it's kind of related to what we spoke about earlier with voice acting and mics, but I think, um, do what brings you joy. And even, don't be worried about placing any kind of judgment on yourself in terms of like quality of what it is. Just do it. Like, art doesn't have to be good to be art, to be creative. And good is subjective, anyways. And I think whatever it is that brings you joy, do that and lean into it, and don't let other people gatekeep or hold you back. There are always going to be, in whatever community or hobby that you do, there are always going to be those that are welcoming with open arms of just like, yes, someone new, join us. Um, so find your community and do what you love.
Yeah, and most importantly, what is something that the Lord or God, what is something that He has given you? We have talents, we have different gifts, and all
Mm,
these different unique skills or weird characteristics, but
mm.
yeah, we are called to use them mightily. So, what is something that you want to do? Not not take the first step forward, or just swallow the what is it? Just I don't want to say swallow your pride, or just do it with the. I know it's gonna feel like I was saying earlier, it's gonna feel terrifying and it's gonna feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I say go anyway, even if you're scared or anxious, worried, or whatever feeling that you got, and just do it.
Yes, yes,
It's so basic and cliche, but I, it must be said.
yes.
I just
Just
gotta,
start.
I need to
Yeah.
hammer it to everybody at the end of every episode before they all get sick of me. So yeah, I think that's pretty much covers. Oh, right. You sing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
like to do this little fun tidbit at the end where I just have an actor just sing a sample of a song that they particularly.
Oh my gosh. You're throwing this on me and I wasn't I could, oh gosh, what should I sing? I don't know. Um I have You're putting me on the spot. Um I don't know. Now, of course, everything is coming blank to me and I can't think of anything.
I mean, you said Disney princess, so
I
Disney?
know I should just okay. Well, Belle is my favorite Disney princess. So, um what's her? little part where she's sitting in the piazza, like, oh, isn't this amazing? It's my favorite part because you'll see. Here's where she meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3. That's what I remember.
Yo, bravo, bravo, bravo. Yeah, man. I think that even lifted. That gave me a pick me up.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Because usually
you.
when I put actors on the spot, it's like, oh, can you do blah, 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 blah. So now here's another one. Not a song, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
just no. If I were to do another one, that would be crazy if we did two songs. I mean, we could, but no,
One's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, once. Yeah. So an outro that I usually do is, hi, my name is Justine. I'm not actually Justine, but just an example
Yes.
because somebody actually joked about that.
Oh.
My name is blah blah. I've done projects here, and this is Station Square podcast with Robert Jackson.
Oh, okay. So, like list
Just
the
say your
name of like.
name, yeah, name projects, and just shout out or say podcast, and yeah, just pretty much that stuff. Just as
Okay.
like the closing out. I should
Yes.
probably write it, and yeah, I need to
Yeah.
start doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So, Project Squared, hosted by
No, Station Square podcast.
Station
Yeah,
Square.
projects, your name, projects,
Station
and
Square
Station Square
Project. Okay.
podcast.
All right. Yes, Station Square Podcast. Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Uh, Hi, I'm Justine Leah Hince. Some projects that I've been a part of are the From Wonderland with Love audiobook, um, the Shishiodoshi um, visual novel, and you are listening to the Station Square podcast hosted by Robert Jackson.
Beautiful, always the perfect take with the first take. Ow, ow. So yeah, any final closing farewell, my, or as a character to yourself?
No, just thank you.
Yeah, I also want to give a quick shout out because I know we were in a couple different projects, and I'm not gonna go and look how many we're in because we're in way too many. But I think we did a couple of like Valentine things. Like it was a cartoon that, oh boy,
Yeah,
it was
the
Jonathan or somebody that I
yes,
wanted.
yeah,
Yeah,
the big
his
inner
stuff.
beauty.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
that's the one.
yeah,
Yes, 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 yes.
yes, yeah. I played the her best friend. Yes, I played Tammy, her best friend. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was about to say, because I know we were kind of in a couple of different, yeah, it was that. Yeah, so we kind of did a couple of different videos for him.
Yes.
So I just want to give a shout out to Jonathan.
Yes.
I don't know his username right now, but you know what? Let me look it up just real quickly so I can.
Were you all you were also in Cryptid Coffee House? Yes, we did that.
Was I? Cryptic Coffee. The name sounds familiar.
It's a video
That's why I need to
like
update my stuff.
visual novel video game, I think.
Yes, yes, that's the
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I think that was it.
I think we also
And
did that together.
yeah, John Moe. What's it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'll
Jonathan Morris,
just
yeah.
Jonathan Morris. I'll just type it out in the description because I'm not gonna remember every single thing that we did together. So
Yes.
it's impossible. But anyways, we're here, and yeah, also another quick shout out, and people are gonna be sick of me just showing this. We finally, yeah, no more, at least for right now.
Yes.
I don't know what the future entails, but hey, we're on the right track. So
Yes.
thank you for SAG and Nava and whoever else for just advocating against the use of AI, and make sure that us actors don't get screwed out of work or get replaced
Yes.
by artificial
Yeah.
intelligence. We don't want to be replaced by robots.
Support human creativity.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about that SpongeBob episode where they're just like, not the Navy. The robots have taken over the world. Ow. Uh, they boy, they kind of predicted the future like The Simpsons.
Uh, Yeah.
Sorta. Yeah. It's debatable, but with that said, thank you so much for watching the podcast and to an extent, Solomon Shrine. So stick around next time, you foolish mortals, and remember, play for your life.
Yes.
And I shall see y'all next time on Station Square with Robert Jackson and Justine Lee. So, yeah, follow up perhaps? Who knows? Stick around and find out. God bless, live long and prosper. Yeah, my other hand. All right, see ya. Take care, y'all. Love you. Peace.